Welcome back. Hope you got some fuel in your bodies after a good intense morning practice. Harmony, I'm not sure you got to mention it, but I think generally the recommendation is not to eat or drink before the pranayama.
Oh yeah, I didn't tell people the rules. But yeah, definitely if you're practicing the pranayama, it's best done on an empty stomach, because then, I mean, if you do drink before, leave a little bit of time so it can go through you. It doesn't take so much time, like 20 or minutes or a half hour for the fluid to go through you, or to like leave your stomach. But it's best to be as empty as possible so that the prana can move. When you're digesting, your energy is consumed with digesting processes. So it makes it won't move. It's like it needs to focus on digesting. And also if you're menstruating or pregnant, you don't want to do breath retentions. So you can still practice pranayama, but don't hold the breath.
Thank you. I was just thinking.
Thanks for reminding me.
We did that before lunch. I remember we scheduled that on purpose. I know my sore people had a gap, so they might have had a little food or drink before, but they will survive the one time breaking the rules. But as a general, if you're going to be doing this, on a daily basis, you do want to make sure, that you're practicing in the right way. I mean, you will just feel that it wouldn't feel good to be doing those retentions, even like liquid in your body. And also because as Harmony mentioned, you're actually like blocking the energy, moving it up. It's like creating a dam, right? So at that, if you've eaten or had a lot to drink, there's a lot of stuff flowing downward. So it's working against all your hard work, which the work is hard enough. and for this session, I'm going to be talking a lot about that as well, although I hope you had some nourishment so you have some energy for moving again, because we're going to be moving again. We're actually going to be focusing on, the most moving part of our practice. So the vinyasa, the part that comes between the asanas, like this repetition of movements that we see so much in the Ashtanga Yoga practice. And I think sometimes maybe we kind of forget about that. That's also a part of the practice. It's not just like something to ignore that's in between the important part, which is the poses, is actually a part of the practice and an important part. And I'm like really glad, I don't know if we thought about this, but that you had Harmony's session first to do a little work talking about bandhas and talking about breath, because that's really, really important to having successful vinyasa flow part of your practice. You're going to be really tuning into the breath and the bandha, especially mula bandha. So I wanted to get a sense of where everyone feels like they're at with those vinyasas, the jumping through. I'm talking about the jumping through and jumping back between the poses. Anyone been struggling with that part of the practice, or come in with specific questions about that part of the practice? See Tim smiling.
I'm oh, go ahead, Jennifer. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Tim, go ahead.
No, I was going to say my first reaction when you asked that question, the first word that came to my head is stuck.
Feeling stuck.
Yeah.
Okay. And is it that you're feeling stuck, like you're feeling heavy lifting yourself up, or you're feeling stuck as you're trying to move back or forward, or you just feel like in other parts of your practice you get a feeling that you're moving forward, and this element of the asana practice you feel like you haven't had progress?
Well, I definitely feel like I've had progress in this area, but it's almost just like a physically being stuck. Like I can jump to a certain point, and then once I get there, I just kind of, I'm physically stuck. And now I've gotten to the point where I kind of smile and laugh and then like tumble through eventually. But like it's literally like just the physical stuck.
You're feeling it specifically as you're jumping forward, like from downward dog when you're trying to jump to sit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, good to know. So I'm going to make sure that I'm focused on that, and that I also watch you and see what's happening. Jennifer?
For me, I'm worried that I'm cheating. I feel like I'm doing a little roll forward as I'm lifting up, and so like just the straight lifting and moving back. When I try that, I know it's just not there.
Yeah.
So that's, I mean, I think I just want to get out of the bad habit, and it's interesting because I had set in my mind that October was my month to start working on the jump back. Jump through, I feel okay. That feels like I kind of understand how I could do that. The lift up is like, woo!
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense what you're talking about, because, you know, we can't work on everything all the time. You know, it's a big mistake and an early youthful yoga practitioner mistake to come in and try to do everything at once. I mean, when we try to do that, and as a teacher watching students try to do that, often the outcome is just quitting, right? Because it's just too much. So it's very common to, what you're calling a bad habit right now is probably a good habit for a while, right? And you always hear me talk about this stuff with life also. It's like a crutch or like a go around that was probably really important so you could focus on other parts of the practice, and is now, you can tell it's not serving you, and it's time to take that next step. So it's great that you identified that, and I'm glad that I'm doing a workshop on it. And I could definitely see that this morning, and everyone that I had in class was ready to move forward in this aspect of the physical practice. Anyone else, especially anyone of Harmony students who I don't know as well? One more, I see Brenna and then Liz.
I'm probably similar to Jennifer, and I've probably just been like cheating through them for a while, and like kind of just left, like, I don't want to say gave up, but just accepted, like, oh, that is what it is, and that's never gonna come. But the jump through happens sometimes, like when the body's feeling light and everything's aligned and it's just kind of going. But yeah, that actually like lifting, and the same thing in Navasana, like I could never lift everything up. So I mean, I'd like to at some point.
Yeah, and it's also, just because we can't do something now doesn't mean we shouldn't try to do it a little bit each day. I mean, that is the definition of practice.
Right.
So sometimes that's also, it's like, I can't do it, so let me do this other version, when really it's the way that we practice is doing something we can't do. And sometimes it feels like I'm like not getting anywhere, but even if you're not lifting up, if your intention, your energy is toward that upward movement, things will progress over time. They have to, right? Because that's practice. And even if you're not really seeing that huge, you know, what you want to see, like the butt and the legs lifting up off the ground, you're doing that upward energy in your body, which is so important. So putting that intention in there, putting that energy into lifting upward is going to give you benefits, right? So even if you're not seeing on the outside, we know that this practice is about what's going on the inside. But I am going to talk about that one moment, and some of the things that I think really help practitioners to get more of that air.
Thanks.
Yes. And Liz.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. It's that I get up, but then I can't figure out how to get my legs through without a little help. And I'm like, it has to be possible. I feel like I can't make myself small enough, but I don't know that being small enough is the right way to think about it. So maybe like getting backwards. It's funny, 'cause going forward, because it's I feel like I can get through that way. But going back, it's like my feet get in the way or something. something.
Well, there is a part of it which is compacting ourselves, right? And that's also going to make you feel lighter, right? It's just actually physics. When you're in tight, you're going to feel lighter, more compressed. You're going to be able to move yourself through more. So there is a part of it that is making yourself kind of smaller, more compact. I would think of it as getting ready to move through. And of course, when you're jumping forward, you have a little bit more of that energy, right? You're in motion. But sometimes we can make a lot of mistakes with that as well. It's like using that force, you know, and not actually doing it in a way that's a smart movement of our body, right? So sometimes I'll see people like throwing themselves through to get forward, so they can kind of say to themselves, oh, I got forward, I got through, when actually they're doing all sorts of weird and potentially damaging stuff to their bodies. And it would be better not to actually jump all the way through, but to actually look at what are we doing? What's the intention behind the motion? Good, so we're gonna look at that jump back and give a couple different options depending on where you are in it. So some of you may be moving your hands, some of you may need to glue your hands to the ground. We're going to sort of look at questions like that. Any other questions, difficulty, things that you're facing with that jump back and jump through, so I know before we start?
You know, on the, it's Alan here, on the jumps through, it's always tricky to gauge the right energy to get the hips up and not overshoot. And that's probably my problem on the jump through. I might have overshot a few times, and after that it was kind of a difficulty for me to gauge right amount of spring to give to my hip up. So
you find yourself like almost like flying through, too much energy.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way to start, right? So again, it's one of those things that might have started as a really good habit. It's like use more, because it's easier to pull back, right? It's always easier to pull back than to try to squeeze out some more energy or vision behind a movement. So it's good that you have a lot of energy, and the positive thing is it's a lot easier to just start to just rein that in a little bit and control it. Essentially using your bandhas, using your thought, which is connected to Mula Bandha very strongly, and your breath. It's much easier to pull on the brakes, as I would say. I always think of, I think a lot of times of Mula Bandha as being a bit of my brake in practice. We maybe needed to squeeze a little more. So let's take a look at it. Let's get on our feet. I'm gonna start just looking at the sun salutation. Doing this kind of like asana workshopping in this new Zoom technology is kind of interesting. I really want to look at you rather than be doing a lot of movement. But if you need to, I've set myself up so that if you need a demonstration, I can do that, okay? And there might be a couple times, especially when we're seated, that you might want to see me. But let's start by me looking at you, because you all seem kind of ready to move, which is good. So we're going to start with our sun salutations, but we're really going to focus on this jumping forward and jumping back, because this is the foundation. So just find yourself in your Samastitihi. And that's right, those of you making sure I can really see your whole body. I can give you the most feedback, especially if I can see your feet and your lower body. Susan, I don't know if you want to drop your camera a tiny bit. Yeah, that's great. So just come to your Samastitihi. And make sure your legs are really engaged. So the inner thighs are working. And you're really feeling the legs rooting into the ground. The weight dropping into the feet. And it's that energy, that downward grounding, that allows you to lift up. There's a real opposition of energy flow that's happening. There's this real downward flow. And it's almost like you can feel the springiness of the floor. Right? So even though the floor appears to us to be solid, everything has an amount of springiness to it. So you can notice how by dropping your energy into the ground, it bounces back up. And then just tuning into the breathing. The breathing is very, very important. All our movements are going to match our breath. As you take your next inhale, drop the weight into the feet and feel the movement going down as the arms go up. As you exhale, folding forward, touching the ground. We're going to stay here for a minute and just noticing where your hands are. You're going to try to lean your weight a little bit forward into the toes. Inhale, get the weight in the hands. Almost feel like you can press your hands into the ground and lift the heels up off the ground. You're shifting the weight. You want to get your hands on the ground, so you're pulling the weight into the ground, and you try to now to press down and lift your feet up off the ground. Lean forward, try to squeeze, lift the feet, and then think forward as you exhale, jump back. Go ahead into your chaturanga. Exhale down. Inhale through your upward dog, and exhale through your downward dog. And as we breathe in and out here, you can also play with just bending your knees a bit and bringing the weight forward into the hands and then kind of back, just noticing the shift of weight. It's a little bit different than our regular practice. I'm going to take another breath here. And then to come forward, we're going to bend the knees and you're going to try to jump up instead of forward, even if you don't get all the way to your hands. Bend your knees, jump up, and then let the feet drop. Inhale, head comes up. Exhale, drop your head. Inhale, rise up, press the arms up overhead, but feel the feet dropping down. And exhale, arms come down to the sides, but the head and chest lift up. And let's just try that again. Inhale, reach the arms up, but feel the weight drop down. Exhale, fold forward, release your head. And we're gonna stay here for a minute. You're gonna try to bring the weight into the hands and see if you can lift the feet up off the ground, maybe just a tiny bit. Just feel the shoulders go over the wrists and see where that weight comes into the hands. Yes, good, Jen. Maybe trying tiny little hop, not trying to go all the way back yet, just playing with where my shoulders in alignment with my wrists. And when can my weight get into the hands for just a moment? I kind of squeeze the Mula Bandha there and then exhale, jump back. And always think forward as you jump back. See, Jennifer, much improved. Exhale down, inhale, chest lifts up. Exhale, downward facing dog. Just taking a breath here, pressing back into the hips so you can give your shoulders a moment break. And then we're gonna kind of try the same thing the other way. So just bending the knees a bit, bringing the shoulders a bit forward and playing with maybe not the full jump forward, but where the weight goes into the hands. You can try a couple little hops and think about jumping up instead of forward. Don't worry about how far forward your feet get, because we're just playing, right? You're getting a chance to actually play with your practice a little. And start to notice how just maybe moving your shoulders a little bit forward, squeezing the knees together a little bit more can actually change the dynamic of your jump. Right? And then on this next one, come all the way forward. So the feet jump to the hands, the head comes up. Exhale, the head drops down. Inhale, rise up, but think down as the arms come up. Exhale, think up with the head, up with the chest as the arms come to the sides. And just take a couple breaths in and out through the nose. Any questions or observations there? Yeah. And Alan, I can see that you are jumping really, really high with your hips.
Yes. My question is about the drishti.
Yeah.
Where should your eyes go in either position?
In each position?
Well, when you jump forward or backward, I think the importance of where you look, I feel is key, but I'm not too sure.
Yeah, it is key. And it would, normally we say, right, we're looking at downward dog, we're looking at the navel, and then we shift the gaze to look at the tip of the nose. But if I have a student who's having trouble jumping all the way forward, I'll shift that gaze, something we'll talk even more about when we go to jumping through seated, and I'll have them look way forward, right, beyond. So, you know, the concept of like, if you have a goal, sometimes you want to shoot way past the goal to get to the goal. So if you're having trouble, I don't think that's your trouble. But I just saw that your hips are jumping really high, but then you walked forward in the last one. I wanted to see your jump. So maybe I look at it now. You don't seem to have trouble jumping forward. But if anyone is having trouble getting their feet all the way to the hands, then you want to look forward at the wall. So you're aiming for far ahead of the hands. Make sense? And that will actually help your jump get a little further. Other questions? Yeah, someone in the middle there, Tim.
So I'm curious about the placement of the hands in the forward fold. If there's a limitation with I'm assuming hamstring flexibility, and the hands aren't coming flat to the floor, is it okay? To what extent is it okay to bring the hands forward?
Yeah, I think for this process, it's going to be good to bring your hands a little forward so that you can feel getting the weight into them.
Okay.
It may not be something that you want to do every day, but it's like we're doing kind of like a drill or exercise around one specific thing that we're working on. And during the time that you want to work on that, I would definitely bring your hands forward, because you obviously need to have the hands on the ground in order to get the weight into the hands. It's going to be impossible to. You don't want to be jumping from your fingertips. Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure. Anything else? Questions or observations around moving that weight? You see how you can really shift your weight. Yes, Liz. Oh, you're muted. Just unmute yourself for me.
Got it. One thing that I've been having a problem with lately is, and I don't know if I'm just positioning something wrong, is my shoulder. When I jump forward, when I do my jump forward, sometimes there's like a twinge, and I don't know if I'm just putting too much weight there, or if I'm positioning my arm incorrectly.
Yeah, and it's really important to note those things and not to back off if you're having pain in the shoulder like that, because we do so many of these repetitions in the practice. Something that small can escalate quickly, especially around shoulders. So I do want to encourage you to really back off of that in daily practice. So just as a start. I noticed this morning that your elbows are a bit out in your chaturanga.
Okay.
So you want to start turning those in a little bit. Okay. It might be something small like that. And then also just pay attention this time. We're going to do this again, the exercise. Your hands, if you're really spreading your fingers, pressing into the knuckles so that you might not be having enough support there. In that, when you just showed me, it looked like you weren't, but sometimes when people just show something quick, it's not really what they're doing. Maybe you are. And also remember, this was also something I noticed a little in your practice today, and it's good for everyone. It's like sometimes we can forget the lower part of our body. So because I really want to encourage you to always to think a lot in the opposite way that seems like what you should be thinking, right? So you're doing something where you're about to put the weight into your arms. So you're thinking all about your arms, right? But you actually want to be squeezing the legs, right? Making that the legs compact, making yourself tighter and lighter in your lower body. And that's going to support the fact that you're bringing the weight into the arms. Same thing with everyone with your upward dogs. Like a lot of times people forget about using the inner thighs, the legs staying strong. If the legs aren't strong in your upward dog, okay, it's fine if you forget about your legs once or twice, but you guys are doing these repetitive movements daily. So you have to take good care of yourself. It's really important because of how many times you're repeating the same movements. And it's not talked about enough. So make sure that you don't get sloppy in your practice, you know? Keep the lower body supporting the upper body. So I hope that's helpful. Try those tricks and then see if it makes a difference. Okay, all right. So let's try this again. Let's try like maybe 2 more times, just based off, you know, this additional sort of information input. And take your time here. Let's stand for a moment in Samastitihi. Grounding down through the feet, feeling the connection between the energy dropping down through the tailbone, down the legs, the feet taking our weight, and then the lifting that comes through that. Notice your Mula Bandha, right? That energy, that locking of the pelvic floor. Notice your breath. Breathing in and out with sound. Inhale, feel the downward through the feet as the arms come up. Exhale, fold forward, drop your head. Moving a little faster here, get the hands into place. Inhale, lift the head, bring the weight into the hands. Exhale, think forward as you shoot the legs back. Lower down. Inhale, roll forward, upward dog, legs stay engaged, supporting those shoulders. Exhale, downward facing dog. Let's actually stay here and breathe. 1, spread through your fingers. Feel the support of your hands. 2, 3, 4, and here, squeeze Mula Bandha, bend the knees, inhale, lift the hips up and jump the feet forward. Inhale, exhale, drop the head down. Inhale, rise up, think down, and exhale, stand, Samastitihi. 1 more on your own, implementing all this, incorporating the opposition, the breath, the bandha, gaze, and all the things we've learned. Ellen, I think when you're about to jump back, you can think a little bit more even forward. Do you want to try jumping back for one moment? Lean forward. Inhale, lean forward. Now keep it forward. Go. Think forward, think forward, think forward. See how your shoulders went behind your wrists? You can actually do that move in a way. No? You're muted, so I can't hear you.
Yeah, no, I didn't see that, my shoulders.
So when you, and this for everyone, I'm picking on Alan, but I use him as an example. We're just learning from each other. So as we're setting ourselves up, you know, when you're setting yourself up, this is when you're inhaling, leaning forward here. Can you all see me? Yeah. You're setting yourself up for your jump back. So you don't make the mistake of inhaling, lifting forward, and then jumping back and having to move back forward. Does that make sense to everyone? You're lining yourself up. So in order to keep that shoulder over wrist, you're gonna have to really think forward as the legs jump back. Trying to see if I can see myself on the screen. So my shoulders are over my wrists, and I'm inhale, head up, exhale, I jump back. There's a lot of forward motion and energy pressing into my hands. It's almost like all the weight is in the hands for just a brief moment. That's good, Liz. If you want to try one time, we're going to sit down after this. Yep, Alan, yep. Yeah, that's different. That's good, Tim.
No, I have a question.
Yeah.
When you're on forward fold, your hands are more towards your feet. So when you prepare yourself to jump back, you have to move your hands forward to be able to jump back.
Well, I don't. You might have to.
Okay, yeah, you don't, yeah.
Yeah, you might have to, which is what Tim was talking about. So just for the purposes of working on this, instead of doing your deepest forward fold, just bring your hands where you can get them flat on the floor. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So sometimes you kind of have to isolate out as a movement. And you're absolutely right. And you won't be able to do that unless you can have your hands flat on the floor and have all the weight in the hands. So let's come to sit, because I know a lot of you want to talk about the jump through, the seated jump through. Now we're sufficiently warm. Liz, how was that on your shoulder?
Yeah, it makes a big difference to really think about putting more attention to my legs.
Yeah.
And having them contribute in a lot more of the work rather than, because I think I wasn't thinking about it. And no. I was putting all the weight into my shoulders, and that makes a big difference actually. When you said it, I was like, oh yeah, and it does. I can feel the difference.
Good. Yeah. If we get sloppy with the legs.
I'm really concentrating on my hands and putting pressure into my fingers. You know, it's sad, but when you put it that way, it's like, okay, those, and I think that'll help.
So it might be, you know, for the next 3-4 weeks, you know, when you're practicing, you remember I said you can't focus on everything all the time. So if you're inspired by this, or it's something you want to work on, or you've been having any pains, you spend extra time and you just say, you know what, my asanas might be a little like because you need to relax the mind sometimes somewhere. But it does happen often that we relax the mind in the vinyasa. We're so focused on getting that asana alignment, perfection, this illusion of asana perfection, and then we just kind of go through the vinyasa without putting the mind, and then we develop some of those kind of relaxed habits. So it could take like 3-4 weeks, just really making sure the legs are engaged as a habit. You know?
And I also feel like sometimes the vinyasas are where you can do a lot of injuries if you're not paying attention.
Yeah, they definitely are.
Yeah.
They definitely are. And a lot of it is because of, again, that you're repeating. It's nothing to do an upward dog one time with your hands wrong. You know, nothing will happen to you, but if you're doing this motion again and again every day. So if you're letting it get sloppy, then it can lead to an injury. So it's better to do it in a controlled way, you know, and sometimes without as much force or without looking as fancy, just knowing that you're lining yourself up, that your legs are engaged. So let's talk about lifting up and jumping back, because I know you guys love this. Brenna's like, yeah. So a couple things I want to talk about in regards to this. Biggest mistake that I see is people inhale and then try to lift. Anyone recognize this in themselves? I see a little nodding. Yeah. This is going to make it very, very, very read impossible. It's really important that you're inhaling as you're lifting. If you inhale and then hold your breath, you lost your force there. You're trying to lift up with your breath being held. And it's a matter of a split second, right? So I want you to really practice that you're inhaling as you lift, not doing an inhale before. I can repeat it and repeat it because I see it all the time. Oh, that's hard. Much, much harder than lifting and inhaling together. Okay, that's the biggest thing. Let's just try it, and let's do it the wrong way first, just so you can see. Like, it's often helpful. You might be missing it by like the tiniest little hair, but here I want you to exaggerate it, right? So everyone inhale, and now with the held breath, try to lift. Do it again. Inhale, hold your breath, try to lift up. And now forget that. And now squeeze the legs in. Together, we're gonna inhale and lift. 1, 2, 3. Try to get it exact. Can you feel any difference? Can you match the initiation of the movement with the initiation of the inhale? Try it on your own breath pace. And just notice in yourself, be honest with yourself if you're breathing before in anticipation. It's different, Brenna, right? I see it changing you already. Yeah. So that's the first thing, and that's really like the most important thing, is to match the inhale and the movement. It's really major. Think of that inhale as like, that's like your engine, you know, that's really your engine. And again, if you're holding your breath there, it's really going to hinder that upward movement. The second thing, and then if you're able to do that, you of course add the Mula Bandha, right? That squeeze is gonna help lift you up. So, I mean, now we can add it. So think about, you're gonna breathe and squeeze and lift all at once. So see if you can do all those 3 things together. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. One more. 1, 2, 3. Inhale, squeeze, and lift. How is that? Holding 3 things at once. I've got a thumbs up from Brenna. Anyone else? Same, or any change? You could call out whoever's. Tim, did you want to say something? I can't hear you, that's all. Mute. You're on mute. Anyone want to talk who's on mute? Go ahead and unmute yourself.
I can't get my both feet up. My left foot always is staying down. I feel like everything else is lifting and still I can't get it, go.
I didn't get to the, so thank you, yeah. So I didn't talk at all about the legs or the hands. I just wanted you to see the power of the engine of the breath and get rid of the most common mistake I see, which is the breathing, holding, and then trying to lift, which is really impossible. The legs, right? The legs should actually already be up off the ground, right? So before we even start the movement, the feet are up off the ground. Now, Jen, can you sit like this with the feet off the ground? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So that's the start. And we're using the stomach muscles, right? We're pulling the knees in, using the stomach muscles. The feet are up off the ground. Now the hands. Right? Sometimes the hands are too back. Some people place the hands too forward. You want the hands close to the body, right? It's gonna be really hard if you spread the hands wide. And like just in front of the bum, right? And it's slightly different depending on your body. So you might have to play an inch or two with the hands here to get the right position. So everything's already squeezed in, and then I press down, inhale, lift up. See if you can get it. Yeah, that's it. But that's it. You kind of smiled, but then I feel like you did a little bit like, well, it wasn't really it.
No, I felt it.
That is it. And another big mistake that I see all the time is with students is trying to do everything all at once. It goes back to that. So it's like already trying to be on the jump back part. I think it's really important to separate the parts out. So your work in the next week might just be this move, you know, just working on the lift. Someone said that even in Navasana, they're struggling with that, right? So if you're struggling with that in Navasana, I mean, granted, by the time we get to Navasana, we're pretty tired, but it's a good sign that you're not strong enough in that to be doing the swinging through. So don't get ahead, get the parts right, okay? So if this is the part you're working on and really reprogramming yourself to match the breath with the motion up, to squeeze the legs in, to include the Mula Bandha, then all you do is between each pose, you inhale, lift up, you come down, you bring your feet forward, and you step back. And that's it. You just do that for a couple weeks. If this is no problem for you, oh, and let me say, if you're doing this, you know, the lift up and bringing the legs forward, you can still do this very consciously, right? I can still bring I'm still engaging my legs, I'm keeping my fingers wide, my shoulders are over my wrist, so I'm not just like, okay, my thing is over, right? But I'm not trying to jump back. If you've got this part, like, okay, this isn't that much of a big deal for me, I can lift up, then the next part is working on wiggling these feet back through the hands without moving your hands, right? So that's the next step. Anyone there? Kind of in there? Susan, right? Yeah, Susan.
I am, but apparently I drop a knee out, and that's why I can't get my legs through.
Okay.
It's like a little habit. You'll see it. Yeah. Like my knee will come out.
Mm-hmm. Mm. So have you ever tried jumping back with your legs the other way?
Both ways, yeah. I'm more likely have my right on, but I do try with both. So I can wiggle.
That looks good, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't see a knee drop out in that one. It probably happens more on one side.
Yeah, I think it happens when the right knee's on top and then my left knee drops out.
So maybe work on the other, because this is another thing. Some of you are practicing a long time and you don't want to get trapped in, this was something on my list to talk to you about, always having the dominant leg on top.
Mm-hmm.
Because you'll then also, just everything we do, you know, it's also impacting our stomach muscles, right? It's not just like a small thing. So I think some of you who are in my class this week, I was making everyone switch their thumb, their dominant thumb when you're clasping behind your back or for your headstand. It's kind of like the same thing. And if those of you who are really good at jumping through, you might find yourself a little surprised when you try to switch your legs. And that might be your assignment for the next month. So maybe if you want me to look at it, Susan, maybe even just for yourself, see if you put the left leg in front, how that impacts things. It's
okay.
Yeah, it's a little hard for me to completely see you. I might need to see you on the other mat.
I'm going to move to my hall because I'm on carpet here and it's really hard for me to do jump backs and jump throughs on carpet.
Yeah.
It eats a lot of my energy.
That would be my first, I don't know your practice, I'm not your teacher, but my first response to that would be to flip those legs and really religiously for the next couple weeks only practice with the left leg on top. But I would like to see it again so I can see if there's something else. But it looks pretty strong. The wiggling is the next step. Did anyone else want to make a comment or question about that? It also, Susan, looks like your legs are a little bit out when you're starting to jump. I would lift up from a little bit of a more compact. Try it one more time, and then I'll take your question, Tim. Squeeze those legs in. See how far out they are? Everyone did you see that, Susan? Your feet are almost, just look at me a second. You're doing something like this. You're actually making it harder on yourself. You're starting compact, but as you go to lift up, your legs are out almost to the front of your mat. That's actually making it harder. Try it one more time. Did you guys see that? It might be something that you recognize in yourselves. Squeeze your legs in. Resist the urge to move. They're coming out. They're coming out. Yeah. Yeah. So it's just a habit that has kind of formed where you think that they have to come far out, but I would work with keeping them close. The head comes down. Tim.
So I was gonna say that's definitely one of the places where I feel stuck on the way back. Is after the lift up and then getting to the point where even being able to step my feet back without moving my hands, I just feel very stuck there.
Let's see it. Then everyone can work on it. Yeah. Because this is the next step. So you do that lift up. Yeah, yeah. So squeeze your legs in a little more. That's okay. Squeeze your legs in close to your body. Yeah. Press down, inhale, lift up, squeeze. Oh, you moved your hands a little back. So come down, put your hands slightly forward from where they are. Pull your legs in more. Squeeze them in. Okay. Press down, try to lift up from here. Okay, pull the legs back. No, that's too hard. Okay, try again. Put your hands back where they were. Squeeze the legs in. Lift up. Lean forward. Bend your elbows. You had it best the first time, actually. Yeah. You're stuck, Tim. Try, so another exercise, and this is good for everyone. This is going to be especially good for you, Tim, but everyone should practice this as well, is crossing the legs behind. Can you guys see me? And you practice lifting up in this position. So you can also do that as a practice, Tim. You can do here, lift up, come down, put the hands forward, lift up from here. And then if you're able to lift up, so everyone's gonna try that now, then you can work on jumping back from that position. So this is a good one. My teachers used to always make me do this. And you'll build a lot of strength there because you actually have to be able to go through that position to do the whole jump back. Start with the knees on the ground, yeah. Yeah. How's that feel, Alan? Brenna, did you try it? So that's one of the drills that you do when you're working on the next step, which is this swinging back, because
Show us one more time.
and this may not be for everyone where they are in their practice, right? But in order to do the whole jump through, you'd want to be able to lift up with the legs crossed under you. So that's a good one to practice as well. And it's not easy. It's definitely not easy. Were you able to do that, Tim? It looked like it. Let me see again. Good. I like that. Oh, see? Wait. See where you were? Put your hands back. That was really good. You can walk through from there. Walk through. Yep. Just about. Yep, yep, yep. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, yes. So you have to fight. And the thing is that if you want to learn it, you have to do that fight every day for a couple weeks. Anyone who's working on this element of it, don't give in to moving your hands. You're so much closer than you think. Now do that same thing and see if you can add the element of lifting up on your way back. Everyone can try this. So do the first part. I'll talk you through it. So you're pulling your knees up into your chest. You're pressing down, inhale, lift up, and then try not to move the hands. Squeeze the feet back, even if it's a fight. Try to lean the weight forward, lift the feet up off the ground. Yes, yes, Tim, beautiful. Did you guys see that / feel that? Good things come with work. Yeah, you're sweating, yeah. Jen, are you okay?
So then my question, the breath during that fight.
Yeah.
Where is it?
You have to breathe, right? I mean, it's like, sometimes Ashtangis, we're so crazy. Crazy people are drawn to this practice. You know, it's like, oh, they told me it's just inhale and then exhale back. But you obviously have to take a couple more breaths while you're working on that. Yeah. So don't hold your breath. You know, we never really want to hold our breath. So just take a couple breaths, but do that. Riz, don't move your hands. Don't move your hands. Okay. Yeah, that's good, Susan. And now you try. So Susan, what you just did. So now you're fighting, and then you see it for a minute, you can lift the feet off the ground. Does everyone get what I'm saying? And I'm gonna tell you now when to do these things. So obviously in the beginning of your practice, your arms are not gonna be so tired, right? So you practice this in the beginning, and then you can move to doing I'm keeping my legs engaged, I'm not gonna get sloppy, but I'm walking through it with good alignment, right? The other place is if you're doing full primary, okay? Jump throughs become much easier after the legs are actually stretched out and the groin and the hip muscles. So just as an experiment, I'll show you. You'll see if you believe me. Just go ahead and take take Baddha Konasana. So the feet come together, right? We're opening our feet up like a book. Make sure you're breathing in and out through the nose. I know I'm breathing a bit heavy. Take a deep inhale, exhale, come forward. Far as you can with the flat back. And just breathe here, in and out, Ujjayi Pranayama. Just stay here. Good, inhale, come up, exhale, curl the head into the feet. Breathe here. Good. Inhale, come up. Just sitting with the straight back. This used to be a part of the practice. It's been cut out. Good. And now just try and see how your jump through is. Using all the elements that we worked through. So using the legs together, using the breath. Any difference? Or are we too tired?
Are the feet flexed or pointed when you go, when you jump back from the sitting position?
They're usually pointed to get them through.
Okay.
And then they flex at the end. So inhale, lift up. So the last element, right, once you're lifting up and you're able to get the feet through and you're able to balance with the feet up off the ground, is going to be the actual jump of the feet back. And that's what we worked on in the sun salutation. So that's why I was telling you to put so much energy to moving forward and keeping those shoulders over the wrists. And also about all that language about opposites. As your legs jump back, you're going to be wanting to think forward. Your head is going to need to lean forward. Your head is very heavy, right? It's going to need to lean drastically forward. Drastically, more than you want to. Of course, our instinct is to protect our head. But you're going to have to, like, that's the yogi thing, right? We have to sometimes go past these animal instincts to dare for something a little greater. So you're going to want to really lean that head forward. And I'm really over even overdoing it. So you can, especially at the beginning, good, Jen, you want to overdo it. And I've even taught people where I put their head down on a blanket to really give them the feeling of how far forward. So yeah, I kind of want to look at everyone for a minute. Liz, I want to see you. So take a break if you want to, especially if you want me to, not you, Liz, but everyone else, if you want me to look at you, because you might be real tired. Yeah, so for you, Liz, I kind of don't want you to jump, because sometimes like the jumping is like so fun that it gives us like too much of the idea that we're doing it before we're doing it. So I want you to really break the elements apart a little more and just step back. So start again. Do the squeeze and lift up. And then again, this is good for everyone to note. Come back down a second. Sorry, I'm being tough. Squeeze your knees in. Lift your feet up off the ground when you're starting. Yeah, good. Squeeze, inhale, lift up. Good. Fight the feet back. Lean forward, wiggle those feet back behind you. Yeah, now stay there. Keep the head forward. See if you can lift those toes up off the ground. Yeah, and then I only want you to jump if you're jumping from the feet already in the air. Head down, lift the toes up. Yeah, you see the difference? Okay, because you were putting your feet down and then doing a little hop, which you'll never learn from because it feels great to do the little hop, but you won't get any strength from it. So you have to kind of force yourself that you're only allowed to jump if the toes are already off the ground. So what it takes to jump when the toes are already off the ground is you're working on that arm strength and the head coming down and forward so the legs can get back. And if you're not there yet and the feet touch the ground, instead, I just want you to really engage, make sure the shoulders are forward and step so that you're really working. It's better than doing like a little hop. Not as good for our egos, but it's better for building that strength. Anyone else want me to look at theirs real quick? Yeah, Tim, let's see it. Yep, good, good. And that's what I want to see, that the mat is moving. That shows all that work. Yeah, that's the evidence of the fight. Anyone else want a personal tune-up? Brenna, good. Is there any way you could lower your camera a little bit? Yeah, good. Mm-hmm. So start again. Before you even do anything, squeeze the legs in. Yeah. Make sure both toes are up off the ground. Big, big inhale. Up, up. That part is good. Yeah, no, that part is good. The only thing that's happening is, and you can feel free to do your upward dog, you're thinking a little bit about going back before you've lifted up. You're slightly ahead of yourself. You recognize that? So I want you to separate that and get that big inhale up. Yeah, squeeze in, inhale, lift those feet, lean forward, lean forward, lean forward, lean forward. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. That's it. It's all about the work. That's good. I would say just focusing a little more in the coming weeks about this squeezing up and trying to get those toes up off the ground before you let yourself move. Even if you put them down again, lift, get that big forceful up.
The breath piece also, I think I'm unmuted. Yeah, the remembering, because that's, I haven't been matching the two very well.
Yeah, so at first it'll probably feel and look kind of awkward and clumsy. And, you know, I see Alan with the blocks. I had mentioned in the email to my students to have them if you want. It's not something I would use, you know, as a crutch, but for the sake of just feeling, like for someone like you might want to just do a couple lifting, because I just want to see you really lifting up and just working on up, up, and the blocks really help us do that. And you're quite good at the next part, you know, swinging back, and I know you're laughing, but you're actually really good at that part. That's not so hard for you. And then after you do a couple with the block, sometimes you have the muscle memory. So it's like, you know, Ashtangis are really against the props, but sometimes, you know, I wouldn't say to use this in your practice every day, but it can teach us something, you know, so it can just give us that real floaty up. I can lift so high. And then after doing like 2 or 3 like that, if you have the energy, then try it without and try to remember that in your body, because that experience of that high lift will be there. In, yeah, see, that's better actually. It is better. And just force yourself, Brenna, to keep those knees in. Squeeze those knees in. Yeah. Good. Yeah, that's the work. That's definitely, yeah, a good drill for you. Good. All right. So I want to talk a little bit about jumping forward, and then make sure we have some little time to cool ourselves down. Jumping forward is usually, I kind of talked about the main elements of it earlier. A lot of times it's about vision. So you want to look, if you're getting stuck before your hands, you want to look way beyond your hands. So I used to, when I was learning this, I used to think a lot, like try to imagine that I'm breaking the wall in front of me, right? And again, it's a lot about gluing those hands to the ground. So you see a lot of people just throw themselves through, which is really dangerous, and we don't want to do that at all. And this comes back again to bringing that weight into the hand. So this is something you can practice like you did with your downward dogs, squeezing the body into that tight bowl. And then we want to straighten the legs and bring them down. Now, all of you are at various degrees of working on this, right? If you can't straighten your legs, the drill is, once you're down, you make yourself do this really hard straight leg lift up between all your asanas, and that's really how you learn. So it definitely takes work. You seen that before, Brenna, or you're just like, yeah, you're getting it? So let's try it. I'm gonna kind of watch you all to see where you need notes, but I want you to think about looking forward, a lot more forward than you ever have as you jump through, not letting yourself move your hands. So if you come down, you just wiggle the feet through, the same thing we did coming back. So look way forward when you're in your downward dog. Yep, good, Liz. Good, and now you would press down and lift your whole body up off the ground. Yeah, you want to lift your heels too. That's the drill. I didn't see yours, Brenna, but do it again. I'll watch you. So biggest trick, look way ahead of where you're going. So wherever you stop, so everyone can just watch me for a second. So in my downward dog, I'm transferring weight into my hands. I'm looking way at the wall. I want to hit the wall with my feet. I bend my legs. Wherever I lay, come down, I'm gonna lift up and then go down. Force myself to get used to it. If I get stuck here, I'm gonna do the same method as the other way. I'm gonna wiggle my feet through. Make sense? Same method. Even try that once from downward dog. Instead of jumping all the way through, know that you're not jumping through and try the same method going forward. So you wiggle your feet through.
Lara, the lift up drill, I mean, with my legs in an L and my butt, the whole legs, everything up?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right.
It's really hard. Brenna, I need you to stop yourself sooner. So go into downward dog. As soon as you're not getting all the way through, so jump. Okay, here, don't let your butt go down. Everyone, so I didn't say that more clearly enough. So the idea is you don't want your butt to drop. So if you're jumping here, you want to catch yourself before your butt drops and make yourself keep it up, squeeze your legs through. So try to catch it before. If you don't, then you make yourself lift up in that horrible L shape. Good, Ellen. Yep. Good, Brenna. Yes, good. That's it. Susan, stop yourself a little earlier before your butt goes down, yeah. And make yourself walk your feet out. Good, Tim. You see?
That L shape is a tough one to lift up. Are there any like if we're not getting that up, like my...
I mean, the best way is make yourself do it before you sit all the way down. So it's kind of your punishment for dropping your butt. So instead, do it from here. It'll be easier.
Okay.
You're already extended. It's the same thing as when you're, it's very hard because your body's not compact.
Mm-hmm.
You probably won't do the whole thing, but the idea is that you dropped your butt and you didn't stay engaged the whole way through, so you kind of make yourself do this little...
I mean, even the blocks aren't helping with this one.
No, it's really hard. But if you do it before, then you don't have to do it. Stop yourself before. It's better anyway, because that's where it really comes in the jump. It's really hard.
Yeah.
Just actually building your strength. That's all it's there, is to build your strength. Jen, let me see you again. Don't drop your bottom. Good, keep your bottom up. So it's leaning forward. It's okay. It's leaning forward. It's again, it's counterintuitive, everyone, to put your head forward. So don't be mad at yourself. It's your whole evolutionary being is trying to tell you not to do that. But you want to get your head forward. So I jump here and keep the head. Oh, almost, yeah, good. Yeah, but now it's better, and that's all. It's about that, like 1% better, so you have something to work on. And that really adds up, because again, you're doing these again and again. So if you're doing them and practicing the right way, then that effort's going to really compound very quickly. Squeeze the legs through. Yeah, Susan, that's better. That's better. Okay, squeeze the legs, squeeze the legs. Lift those heels up off the ground. Yeah, not easy. I'm just watching those of you who are doing some final practices. We're gonna take final questions, comments. That's very good, Liz. Very good, Tim. Any more questions about any of the things that we worked on today? So any of the elements?
I'm just noticing I'm really tensing in here. I'm feeling it in my neck and just the beginnings of the shoulders. And maybe it's lift up, I don't know, but I think usually that means I should focus on my mula bandha more than up here.
Teach you. You have the mindfulness words already in your mind. Yeah, we're compensating for not squeezing the pelvic floor. It's really good that you're noticing, and it's not unusual. Try to catch it now sooner, and just reformulate the pattern. Yeah, but it's not unusual, you know. It's like at first when you're trying to learn something, your body's like telling all your muscles to get involved. And then you kind of have to go like, okay, I don't need you.
Right. Right.
Yeah, of course. No, you're gonna all need some warm showers tonight. Tim.
So I'm noticing a difference between even the effort of pulling in when trying to go back versus going forward.
Mm-hmm.
So I noticed that I need to put more effort into the pulling the knees in as I jump forward. And I think that'll help me a bit.
Yeah, I think it will. You have the benefit of, again, that forward motion. So, but yeah, go for that. If you want to try it again, I'll watch you. Anyone else? Questions? Susan?
I know that my problem is I can never seem to get my shoulders over the wrist and my head forward for anything. So I've really been trying to work on that.
Mm-hmm.
Am I forward?
Yeah.
So is that going to help me with jump backs and jump forward?
Yeah.
Because I think that's my downfall.
Well, what happens is you're lining yourself up correctly,
Mm-hmm.
but you're not staying. I think I gave you this comment before, right? You're not staying lined up. So the thing is, you're starting off, but it's a common misunderstanding that when you're doing this inhale, so you inhale, arms up, exhale, fold forward. Here, this is where you want to be lining yourself up. So when I jump back, nothing here has changed. So you're not the only one. But what you're doing is when you're jumping back, you're letting the shoulders go back with you. So you have to think, as you're jumping back, you really have to tell your mind that you're jumping forward. And think about like a rocket ship, right? Yeah, that's a difference. Do you feel any difference?
Yeah.
Your head forward. As much as the legs go back, the front of the body has to go that much forward, right? It's like opposite and equal force and intention. See, that's much better.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So incorporate that into all those places.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. A lot of people do that. Any other questions? Does everyone feel like they have one thing that they can, like there's been that like a 1% improvement, one little exercise or something that you can incorporate into your daily practice? I hope so. Okay, so let's make sure to cool down. You can come and sit in a cross-legged position. And take the arms behind the back and just fold forward. I'm just gonna breathe here for a minute. Just like yoga mudra. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, sitting up tall, breathing in and out through the nostrils, really trying to engage your Mula Bandha, Padmasana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And in the spirit of our lifting up practice, Utplutihi, here we go. Lift up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Release down. You can straight lay down. We'll take a couple minutes rest. Let the whole of the practice and all the hard work you did just sink in.